After my divorce, I moved into a quiet house on the outskirts of Portland, Oregon, hoping to leave my old life behind. The neighborhood was peaceful, surrounded by tall pine trees, with only one elderly neighbor who rarely came outside. One rainy Saturday afternoon, while unpacking moving boxes, I searched my new address on Google Street View just to see how the property looked from the road. At first, everything seemed completely normal. The white mailbox, the old wooden fence, and the empty driveway all looked exactly as they did outside my window. Then I noticed someone standing near the front porch. I leaned closer to the screen, and my heart almost stopped. The person wasn't a stranger. It was me. I immediately checked the image details, convinced Google had somehow updated the photo after I moved in. But the capture date made no sense. The Street View image had been taken 3 months before I had even purchased the house. There was no possible way I could have been standing in that driveway. My hands started shaking as I zoomed in. The man in the image was wearing the exact same blue jacket hanging inside my bedroom closet. Even the scratch on my left cheek from a recent accident was visible. It wasn't just someone who looked like me, it was me. Trying to convince myself it was some kind of bizarre glitch, I opened older Street View images from previous years. The house looked different each time. The fence had changed. The trees were smaller. Different cars were parked outside. But one thing never changed. I was standing in the driveway in every single image, even though they had been taken years apart. And in every photo, there was a tall figure dressed completely in black, standing only a few feet behind me. The figure never moved, never changed position, and its face was hidden in deep shadow. It looked like it had been silently watching me for years. Before I could process what I was seeing, my phone vibrated with a notification from Google Maps. Street View has been updated in your area. My stomach tightened as I refreshed the page. The new image loaded slowly, line by line. This time I wasn't standing outside anymore. I was standing at my upstairs bedroom window, staring directly at the Google camera. Then my blood turned to ice. Behind me, inside my bedroom, where I lived completely alone, someone was standing only inches away from me, smiling directly into the camera. I stumbled away from my computer so fast that my chair crashed onto the floor. Every instinct told me not to look upstairs, but I couldn't stop thinking about that smiling figure standing behind me in the Street View image. My bedroom door was open exactly as it appeared in the picture. The lights upstairs were off, and the entire house had become unnaturally silent. Trying to calm myself, I grabbed a baseball bat from the hallway closet and slowly climbed the stairs. Every step creaked beneath my feet. When I reached my bedroom, I switched on the light. The room was completely empty. No footprints, no open windows, no sign that anyone had ever been there. I let out a nervous laugh, convincing myself it had to be some kind of digital error. Then I noticed something that made my stomach drop. The curtains beside the window were gently swaying, even though the window was locked from the inside. Still shaking, I returned downstairs and refreshed Google Street View again. The image had changed. This time, the smiling figure behind me was gone. Relief washed over me for only a second until I realized where it had moved. It was now standing outside my house near the mailbox, staring directly toward the upstairs bedroom window where I had been standing moments earlier. I zoomed in as far as I could. The figure's face was still hidden in darkness, but its mouth was stretched into an impossibly wide smile. Just then, my phone buzzed with another notification. Street View history available. View older captures. I clicked it, hoping to find an explanation. Instead, every older image showed the figure getting closer to the house with each passing year. My curiosity quickly turned into fear. I searched the address online and found an old newspaper article from 8 years earlier. According to the report, the previous owner had vanished without a trace after repeatedly telling friends that someone kept appearing in Google Street View outside his home. Police searched the property but found nothing except his phone still open on the Street View page. The case was never solved. As I scrolled through the article, I froze. Attached to the report was a blurry photograph taken by investigators inside the house. Standing in the upstairs bedroom window was the missing homeowner. And behind him, barely visible in the reflection of the glass, was the same smiling figure. Before I could read another word, the lights throughout my house suddenly went out. The Wi-Fi disconnected, leaving only my laptop screen glowing in the darkness. Then, without me touching anything, Google Street View refreshed one final time. The newest image showed my front yard exactly as it looked at that very moment. I wasn't inside the house anymore. I was standing on the front porch, looking straight at the camera. My heart pounded because I knew I had never left my chair. Then I noticed something even worse. The front door in the image was slowly opening. From the inside, my heart pounded as I rushed to the front door, determined to prove the Street View image was impossible. I threw the door open, expecting to find an empty porch. Instead, cold rain poured down onto the wooden steps, but there was no one outside. The street was completely deserted. The only sound was the wind moving through the pine trees. I stepped onto the porch and looked toward the road where the Google camera car should have been. Nothing. Just as I turned to go back inside, I noticed a fresh set of muddy footprints leading from the sidewalk straight to my front door. They didn't stop there. The footprints continued through the doorway, into my house. But the floor inside was perfectly clean, as if whoever had entered had left no trace beyond the entrance. Terrified, I followed the invisible path upstairs. Every room was empty until I reached the attic door, which I had never opened since moving in. The handle slowly turned by itself with a soft click. My hands trembled as I pushed the door open. Inside, I found old furniture covered with dusty white sheets, broken picture frames, and dozens of cardboard boxes left behind by previous owners. In the corner sat an old desktop computer covered in cobwebs. Surprisingly, it was still plugged into the wall. When I pressed the power button, the monitor flickered to life. The desktop contained only one folder. Its name was Street View. Inside the folder were hundreds of screenshots saved over nearly 15 years. Every single homeowner who had ever lived in the house had taken pictures of the same dark figure standing behind them in Google Street View. The figure grew closer with every passing year until, in the final screenshots, it was standing inside the house. Then I found a video recorded by the previous owner. His face was pale and his voice shook as he stared into the camera. "If you're watching this," he whispered, "it's already following you. Don't look at the next Street View update. The moment you see it inside your house, it can see you too." The recording suddenly ended with a loud crash and a terrified scream. Before I could process what I'd seen, the old computer screen went black. A loading symbol appeared, followed by a message that read, "New Street View capture available." Against my better judgment, I clicked it. The image loaded slowly, revealing the inside of my attic exactly as it looked at that moment. I was standing in front of the computer, staring at the screen. But behind me, reflected in the dusty attic window, the smiling figure was no longer standing still. It had raised one hand and was reaching toward my shoulder. The moment I saw the figure reaching toward my shoulder in the Street View image, I spun around with a terrified scream. The attic behind me was completely empty. My breathing echoed through the darkness as I slowly backed away from the old computer. Then I heard it, a soft whisper directly behind my ear. "You finally looked." I swung the flashlight wildly, but there was no one there. Suddenly, the attic door slammed shut with a deafening bang, trapping me inside. The computer screen lit up by itself once more. A countdown had appeared across the monitor. Street View update. Live capture in 0200. Beneath it, another message slowly typed itself across the screen. When the camera arrives, someone must stay behind. Panic took over as I searched desperately for another way out. I smashed the attic window with an old chair and climbed onto the roof just as the countdown reached 30 seconds. Rain poured from the dark sky while distant headlights slowly appeared at the end of my street. At first, I thought it was an ordinary car. Then I recognized the strange camera mounted on top. It was the Google Street View vehicle. It moved unusually slowly, almost as if it already knew exactly where to stop. As it reached my house, the camera rotated toward me. My phone buzzed with one final notification. Street View is capturing your location. Without thinking, I jumped from the roof onto the garage, then into my backyard, running through the forest behind the house. I never looked back. After nearly an hour, exhausted and soaked from the rain, I reached the nearest police station. The officers listened politely but dismissed my story as stress and exhaustion. When they searched my house the next morning, they found nothing unusual. The attic computer was gone. There were no footprints, no broken window, and no evidence anyone had ever been inside. Even stranger, when I opened Google Street View again, my house looked perfectly normal. The smiling figure had vanished. I almost convinced myself it had all been a nightmare. Until I noticed one detail. In the newest Street View image, my house was completely empty. There was no sign of me anywhere. But as I zoomed in toward the upstairs bedroom window, I saw someone standing inside. The figure wasn't smiling anymore. It was me. I looked older, thinner, and terrified. I was pounding on the glass with both hands, desperately trying to get someone's attention. Written across the fogged-up window were 4 chilling words: "Don't let it see you." Before I could take a screenshot, the image refreshed by itself, and the window was empty again. 6 months later, I moved across the country to Boston, changed my phone number, and never searched my old address again. One evening, while checking directions on Google Maps, a notification suddenly appeared on my screen. Street View has been updated near your current location. My blood ran cold. Against every instinct, I opened the image. It showed my new apartment building. And there I was, standing outside the front entrance. But this time, there was no dark figure behind me. Instead, I was the one standing behind someone else. My face was pale, my eyes were completely black, and I was wearing the same blue jacket from the very first image. Then the picture updated one last time. My reflection slowly turned toward the camera, smiled, and raised one hand as if inviting the next homeowner to look behind them. The curse had never followed me. I had become part of it,